And the organizers have said to me, it would be great if I could just try and sum up the last day, because I summed up yesterday, to sum up today in a few minutes. And we've heard an awful lot. But one of the things that I keep being reminded about is that no CEO that I'm aware of ever leapt out of bed saying, we need an IoT system. Do they ever get up demanding an IoT system? Of course they don't. They have a problem with their product or their service. They want to turn their products into services to digitize their company. They want to develop the company with new revenues. They want to explore new options. But they don't start by saying an IoT system is what I need. We have to persuade them that there is a way of delivering what they need. And what we'll probably find we have to do, each of us individually, is to work in partnerships. Because I've heard it from Microsoft, I've heard it from SAP, I've heard it from IBM. You name a company of any scale, and even they will say, we do not have all of the answers. Every single organization working in the Internet of Things has to work on the basis of an ecosystem of partnerships. And that's pretty healthy, actually, because it kind of encourages us to think a little afresh about what it is that we do within our own organization. I don't know if you're the same, but every time in my history at work, when I've been asked to describe what it is I do, I had to think. I had to stop and actually analyze what it is I do instead of just getting on and doing it. It makes you think harder about what it is you do. It makes think harder about why it is that you do it. And if we're talking to these new business partners, this is an opportunity for us to think afresh about how we mesh together and how we make business a bit more effective. So what have we learned today? Michael Rufer of VGF in Germany described the work that they're doing on tram safety. But they were pretty smart about it. They didn't say, we have to start again at grassroots level. We have to build everything from scratch and reinvent the wheel. They knew that there were possibilities if they started by thinking, what other software out there might there be that we can actually apply to our own circumstance? So they looked in the automotive space, and immediately they found automotive hardware and software that would enable them to deliver a very quick safety solution. So they cut the time to market drastically. I'm sure there are ways in which it could be improved and enhanced, and I think he kind of hinted at that. But there's no substitute for getting there faster. So you do need to be able to think laterally in your business. Don't always just plow the same particular route that you've been following. It was mentioned earlier by Dietmar Dahmen, Tesla's Elon Musk, Gutenberg, the printer. They didn't just carry on doing what had been done before. They thought again about how it might be done and delivered something that, in the end, the world decided it did need. Dietmar Dahmen, in his inimitable style, which I neither have the skills nor the suit for, would have said, only superheroes break through walls. But he went on to say that each and every one of you out there is in your own way capable of being that kind of superhero. If you understand where it is you want to get to with the service that you'd like to provide, and you're completely fixed on it, don't be deflected. You might find that for a while you get some funny looks. You might even get laughed at. But the chances are, if your idea is good enough and you believe in it, you might be able to provide something that your company would never, ever have thought of. And with your team, you can deliver it. So don't be deflected. We can all be those superheroes. Sigrid Perkelbauer from Switzerland's Roads Authority described 2 development paths. And this is applicable, her lesson is applicable in so many areas. it's either a question of evolution or revolution. You don't have to be the superhero who breaks down walls and does things in a way that's never been done, though that is a very valid option. You could also take what has already been done, as we saw from Michael Rufer in the automotive sector, and reinvent it, evolve it, turn it into what you need, use somebody else's start and take it further. That's really what ecosystems are all about. So evolution, yes, easier but slower. Revolution, faster, but maybe it hurts more. And she was right to point out that there are risks, because sometimes what we do has unintended consequences. And she pointed out that in her case, they're very concerned that suddenly roads will become far more attractive than they ever were before, and that the traffic will increase. That's not their intended objective. So they have to think carefully about the law of unintended consequences. I was lucky enough to be able to meet this panel that had been assembled by the organizers on autonomous systems. And there was quite an array of talent from quite an interesting range of companies. And autonomous systems, it seems, are not just something in the future that's coming. They are here, either semi-autonomous in the airline industry or autonomous systems that are now in play in automotive. And we can start to see these in pilot projects. We can see them pretty soon in commercial applications. And again, yes, there are risks, but they offer rewards to consumers in smoother, safer air travel and faster, more economical, more environmentally friendly road travel that enables people who are housebound, the elderly, with no particular access to a vehicle, to be able to get out, children to be taken to ballet lessons or to soccer, to get out. Sometimes these are going to be possibilities that we hadn't even contemplated. And people like Uber are out there not just to take on the taxi companies. They're thinking way further ahead than that. They're thinking about how they can take on the car rental companies now. But the next generation is they're going to be taking on the car manufacturers. Because if you can rely on having an Uber when you need one, or other brands may apply, well, why would you need the BMW, the Mercedes, the Ford? You don't need to own that car, perhaps. So the whole model of transport and mobility is going to be changing. You just need to look at what the possibilities are. They could be completely different from what you're currently thinking are the limitations at the moment. And yes, there will be failures. We touched on that in the panel. And they didn't say if, they said when. And that's a horrible thought, because people may get hurt. But if you are providing the best effort service and people are convinced that you're delivering something that provides the safest possible environment at the best possible price, and that you are concerned about their well-being, and you are concerned about protecting their identity and their privacy, then yes, it's just possible that they will live with those risks, just as we live with the risks every time we set foot on a plane. Jürgen Imhoff from Microsoft Microsoft said data is valuable if you use it well. And I used to write for the shipping and transport sector, and I used to write about the containers that he was describing and the cargo handling through ports. So I, for one, was astonished to hear that they aren't just narrowing the gap for collection of containers for every truck down to a few minutes. It's 20 seconds. And if you're there within the 20 seconds, you're able to get your truck loaded. And if you don't, you're toast. So what can be done now with a little bit of thinking that is probably similar to the kind of thinking that Toyota showed back in manufacturing in the 1980s and 90s with just-in-time is something that's going to refresh exactly what we're doing in all sorts of unexpected ways. We're going to be looking at industries with in a new light. And certainly Microsoft seem to be doing that right at the moment. As he said, start with one sensor on the things that you already have. Don't try and make it too big, too fast. You can scale it later, test it. Don't wait, do it now. Go home. When you get back to your business, consider doing it right now. Start with one sensor on something you already own and see if you can make it work. Francesco Romano showed how Trenitalia used IoT to catch up with its rivals, despite the fact that he was very ready to admit they don't have such new trains. Their trains are older, they break down more, and yet by the intelligent use of data, they were able to close the gap on their main rival, Italo. And now they're providing a comparable service on their high-speed rail lines. But to do it, they needed to bring in outside expertise, so they worked with partners to do it. And I loved it. They created diagnostics for dummies.